How many remember when the Avengers came out last year? I was blown away with that movie. I loved it. I thought it was virtually perfect from start to finish. I also loved how they used their individual gifts and talents to overcome this incredible evil and restore order to the world. Pretty crazy stuff. Now, I love sports. If you know me, you know that I follow most sports relentlessly, and some to the point of needing therapy. Just ask my wife. However, God's divine joke was to put all this passion and love for something with no skill whatsoever. I played baseball for 6 years and loved it, but I couldn't hit to save my life. It was terrible. The best part of the games after a few years was the ice cream afterward. I wanted so badly to be gifted and talented, but I just couldn't get there. Are you gifted a little better than I am? Turn to someone next to you and share your greatest gift or strength. Go. Did you know we're all gifted in some way? We have gifts to help those in this world and to be better people as we live down here. Now, I love seeing people use their collective gifts to do far more than they could ever do on their own. Again, think of the Avengers. They each do something different and have different powers, but they accomplish work together to accomplish far more. For me, I like people. I love making people feel welcome and comfortable in the environment they find themselves in. But gifts come in many ways, shapes, and sizes. In our StuCo at Lincoln Park, Chicago, God has brought a lot of talented people together to do His work. Graham and Chloe and Charlie play keys. Courtney's great with a camera and amazing at drums. Tom's an incredibly creative guy and a whiz with photography. Sabrina's a killer designer, and Caitlin's an amazing coach and small group leader. I love to see what God brings together for His purposes of helping students find their way back to God. Well, today we're talking about one of the most famous stories Jesus told about a Jewish man traveling down a dangerous road that got its nickname Ascent of Blood from the frequent muggings that happened there. At one particular bend of the road, thieves jump out and beat him, leaving him bruised, bleeding, and broke. He's lying there in tremendous pain, begging for death to take him when he hears footsteps. He looks up and sees a priest walking up, and instantly his spirits lift. However, to his horror, the priest walks to the far side of the road and picks up the pace until he disappears. What? How can the priest not help? The hours crawl by, and our lonely traveler is slipping in and out of consciousness when he hears footsteps again. With the last bit of strength he can muster, he looks up and sees a temple assistant. Another lover of the God that he serves. Surely this guy will take pity and help. However, the same thing happens. Crosses the street and picks up the pace until the dying man can no longer hear anything. Well, with the sun continuing to assault his exposed skin, he loses the battle and closes his eyes for what he thinks is going to be the last time. When he wakes up, he finds himself in a bed, healing from his wounds with a hot meal and a complete stranger sitting near him. The stranger recounts finding him, taking care of his wounds, and placing him on his own donkey and bringing him to safety. This complete stranger chose to get off his donkey and give it to someone else in need. Then he gets to the inn, and before he leaves the healing traveler, he reaches into his pocket to pay for any remaining costs that might occur in his absence. And what's even crazier is this man's nationality. He's a Samaritan. Samaritans and Jews hate each other. But this particular Samaritan chose to take pity when a priest and a pastor failed to. And there's more to this good Samaritan as he pays the remaining balance for a complete stranger until he returns. Why do you think the innkeeper would have accepted the deal with the Samaritan? I mean, think about it. The Samaritan asks the innkeeper to give the wounded man a room and care for his wounds, and he tells the innkeeper that he'll pay him back when he comes back around. Would you take that deal? You probably shouldn't. You're going to get stuck with a bill, right? Unless the Samaritan knew the innkeeper. Chances are the Samaritan was a businessman who traveled the road frequently, and that innkeeper knew him, trusted him, and knew his word was good. See, he's doing so much more here than just helping a wounded guy out. He's bringing a whole lot of resources and influence to help this man. His time, his contacts from his life as a businessman, and his money. He was ideally suited to help this guy in need. He had a donkey. He had stuff with him to tend his wounds. He knew an innkeeper. And the innkeeper trusted him enough, and he knew the innkeeper could be trusted. What he did was not easy or small, but it was right in his wheelhouse for blessing somebody. And the first step was getting off his donkey. That's all. He removed himself from a place of comfort and bent down to help someone in desperate need. Sometimes all it takes is that first step. But he didn't stop there. He went even further as he used his time, talents, treasure, and tremendous influence to change a stranger's life. So what about you? As you sit here, what comes to your mind? When I say the word gift or talent, what ideas come to your head? You know, I've been around hundreds of thousands of students your age, and most of them come to the same conclusion. I'm not talented. I'm not worth it. What are my strengths? I'm not all that gifted. There are people in your life who just need an encouraging word. There are others that need someone to fight for them because they're about to give up. There's someone that sits by themselves at the lunch table every day. They just need a friend. You have a voice that can move a crowd to action, but you're not using it. Or there might be some of you sitting here that have talents, but you don't know how to use them. Maybe you're amazing at something and you don't feel like you can use your skills in StuCo because there's nothing where that's used. If that Samaritan had just passed by on the other side, just like the other two, the story would have ended very differently. But he chose to use the gifts at his disposal to affect someone's circumstances. Are you doing the same? What are the talents God has given you that you may not be using to your full potential? There are spheres of influence that only you have, and God may be asking you to figure out ways they can be utilized. The innkeeper was crucial to the story because he made room available and trusted the Samaritan to come back. He took him at his word. Can you imagine having that kind of reputation? I love the saying, if we all do a little, no one has to do a lot. What if we all use our talents and unique gifts to begin to change our surroundings? You see, God wants us to bless the lives of every student in our community. We're a church with 12 locations, and we're about to have 14. So we know how important it is to work together. So what if we begin to see our neighborhoods as places where we can use our talents? What would it look like for God to share his plans with us and for us to make those plans a reality? I love going on trips where we get to serve missionally. I've been on 3, 2 to Haiti and 1 to New Orleans. My favorite parts are getting to see students like you come together for a great cause and use their gifts and talents. When I went to Haiti the second time in 2007, we got the opportunity to serve families by placing gutter systems on the sides of the houses, and they were called rain catchers. And they did just that. They caught rainwater and filtered it to provide clean water for the families that were used to walking miles for filthy, diseased water. I was so proud of that team we took. They worked long hours and sweated their lives away, but were amazing. They were relational. They didn't complain, and by the end of the week, we'd placed over 20 gutters on homes. This group may have left for the trip thinking they had very little to offer, but they ended up changing a lot of lives that week through their work. God can use us in any situation with the gifts and strengths he's given us. They got off their donkey, and it changed everything for a lot of people. What is he calling us to do?